Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 22 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts Turtle, Sean, and Mike. Thank you for joining us today. How are y'all doing?
Feeling fine.
I'm doing all right.
It's another day to talk about anime.
It's always a good day to talk about anime.
That's true. If we ever stop talking about anime, that must mean the anime's over.
Whoa, what would we podcast about then?
Disney Lorcana!
Trading card games!
Children's card games!
Welcome to the Lorcana Banter podcast. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Turtle, you better start playing.
Yeah, I'll say you guys got some stuff to talk about because you played some.
Yeah, we went to a Learn to Play event over the weekend.
Very cool. Very fun game. I went 1 and 2 at the tournament. Played with like the Cruella de Vil and Aladdin starter deck. Very interesting rule set.
I will say, for it being a Learn to Play event, they didn't do a very good job teaching the game. It's a Learn to Play event, yet they had no employees teaching the game, at least from what I saw.
Yeah, they kind of just you're kind of just hoping that the person across the table from you knew what they were doing.
And that was fine because I played at Gen Con and I was able to give you a quick rundown before the event started, Sean, but
Yeah, quick Q&A because I read a tutorial before coming in, but I was like, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? But not everyone had that opportunity, I don't think.
yeah. And I get that there was no prize support, but it's okay, well, if it's a Learn to Play event, either ask who has played before and have them be the teachers. There really was no reason to do rounds and reporting your scores and everything. They could just have been hey, it's 3 rounds, play whoever the hell you want, have fun. And if you know the game, please teach it.
Yeah, because there was no prize support for the winner.
Yeah. I went 2-1, and my prizing was the same as everyone else's prizing.
Which I'm thankful for. In
Yeah.
a Learn to Play event, I knew there were people who probably played 50 games since Gen Con.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
Especially with Pixelborn being a thing.
Oh, yeah. So because of that, I was like, man, I'm at a severe disadvantage of anyone. One of my games I lost to is a guy who's he's in a Lorcana Discord and he's like a mod or something. And he was I could tell the dude knew the exact strategy for the starter deck that he had and exactly how to play it. And yeah, I got beat pretty good. I didn't have the best draws, but at the same time, the guy just knew exactly the progression of the game, and I was still figuring that out.
I was asking people before our game, it's hey, have you played before? Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Let me know, I can help you out. But it's it just felt like a lot of stuff was not communicated well with the event. They didn't tell us that we could use the pack that came with our starter deck, that we could modify our deck with that until 2 minutes before the event started.
Yeah, we sat there. Everyone's asking. Everyone is like, can we modify with the pack? Can we modify with the pack? Like you said, 5 minutes before we're about to start. Oh, by the way, you can do that. So everyone's shuffling through their deck. What do I want to put in? What do I want to put out? And if I'd have known better, I would have taken one card out of my deck.
It was a fun event. For a Learn to Play, I'm it could have been handled a little bit better.
One of the unique things about the event is that in addition to, they didn't really get a lot of prize. They didn't really get any prize support, really. Made just the packs that we got to play with. The participation packs, I guess I could say. But they got some merchandise, but they were kind of they're raffling off the right to buy merchandise because how else would you do it, right? So it's yay, we have a Lorcana event. Also, Disney sent us 2 gift boxes and 2 Illumineers troves, and then a bunch of sleeves and deck boxes to sell. So it's man, Disney maybe could have given the store a little more than that, on the Learn to Play.
I mean, maybe I'm being a cynic here. I also wonder if they were just holding back the product they did get in and to charge more after the second Learn to Play event happens.
Yeah, though we were in the second Learn to Play, weren't we?
No, there's another one coming.
Oh, there's another one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So they probably got enough, and they probably split it up, right? So they probably had some more, but they split some for the second event, which I wouldn't be mad about.
No, but
if they split it evenly between
yes.
the 2 events, but
And
if
that's not to say come the next day, oh hey, we are now selling product for more than MSRP.
well, and that's the thing is you always want to trust your local game store, right? But at the same time, when it comes to local game stores, I've been involved in communities enough, like the Final Fantasy trading card game community and the Digimon community, and I have seen stores break street date. I have seen stores sell massive quantities online. I've seen stores buy from other stores then sell their product, stuff like that. Like, you see it all. I'm not saying that local game stores don't have integrity. There are plenty of local game stores with integrity, but you never really know what's going on behind the scenes.
And like I've been perusing the Lorcana subreddit, and they're like, my local game shop is selling a box for $300.
Oh my god.
And everyone's like, that's not your local game shop. That's thievery. A
Yeah,
Yeah,
box
that's a lot.
a box MSRP is 143.
yeah, they probably went to Gen Con, snatched up two of those boxes, and slapped them into their store. And that's you shouldn't be. I'm not so sure they're even allowed to do that. Like, they're not supposed to be for resale like that. Sell them on your own, like online personally, but sell them in the store. I don't know if Disney caught wind of that. I don't think they would want you as a seller of their product.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work. If like, can you report the store to Ravensburger and be like, hey, they're not selling it MSRP? Because I know there are games like Magic. I don't believe Magic has a true MSRP anymore.
It's getting weird in the card game world. I think a lot of card games are kind of dropping MSRP after what happened during COVID, because there was no MSRP anymore during that era.
I also know a lot of game shops are getting big time blowback because of the shit going on with Magic right now. They just released the Commander Masters stuff, and the whole point of that set is to get people to play Command, like bring new people into Commander, and they're charging $100 for a Commander deck.
Whoa,
Yeah, huh? Yeah.
man! And I've seen some of them go like I saw some of the 40K ones going for like 80 a piece. But dang, like brand new ones out the box, hundred
Yep.
dollars.
Yeah. And like collector boosters are going for 45 a piece. And I watch a YouTube channel and they're like, they play a game. It's like, okay, well, we're going to keep opening packs. And like, if we make the money back on the pack, we'll keep going. And so they opened a box of collector boosters. It was 4 packs for like 180, $200.
Oh my
Four
gosh.
packs. And I don't even know if they hit $50 back on their investment.
Jeez.
Like gamers are like boycotting game shops because of this, and like game stores are going out of business, or like they're suffering that like they pretty much have to undercut themselves to move the product so they can make some money back because Hasbro and Wizards upcharge so much for it.
Yeah, and at the same time, Mike, you and I had a discussion over the weekend about how the landscape of games has changed. It's really the year of the scalper, and well, it has started during COVID, but people found out that you could you spend 2 grand and buy 2 cases of product, right? When you buy the 2 cases of product, you just like rip open all the packs, find whatever like the special card is that's worth the most, sell that and a few other cards, hope you make your money back. Or if you pull a case, right, and you pulled the super special card out of it, you still have 6 sealed boxes you can just sell at will to make your money back. So we're seeing this thing where people are buying massive quantities of product online. You can go in some games, you can go buy a booster box for like $30 less than what your local game store is selling it for, who's still selling it way over MSRP anyway. So, what incentive do I have to buy from my local game store in a lot of cases whenever they jack up the price, or online someone is selling it below MSRP.
So set one just came to local GameStop shops for Lorcana, and when it released, the price market for singles on TCG Player were it was all over the place. Like I went grocery shopping and a card was $6. I came home from grocery shopping and it was $3. And then a couple of days later, that same card was up to like $12.
Same thing happened like when One Piece came out for set one. Prices were all over the place. You have to give it time for the set to release, for people to buy stuff. It will settle.
I mean, I got some good deals over the weekend, so I'm a happy camper. And like when the game comes to the big box stores, I know the market's going to crash again.
Hard. When I can, trust me, when if my local game store is selling a box for 130, and Target down the street from me is selling it for 110, I'm going to Target to buy it. I want to support my local game store, but I don't owe them that extra $20.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way.
Like $5, sure, I'll pay extra $5 to my store, whatever. It's fine. It's a fun atmosphere, and I like the people, and but $20, it's not a charity; it's a business.
I mean, I feel the same way. And then you see that same product sitting on the shelf for months and months and months. And it's like, hey, we're doing a sale on this product. It's like, okay, cool. You're like at MSRP now, but everywhere else is like still $30 cheaper.
Your sale price is MSRP.
Yeah, for an old set that no one's playing anymore.
That's bad if your sale price is MSRP.
Yeah, we've seen it.
Game shops don't do that.
We've definitely seen it at our local game shop, and but we've also seen it at other local game shops. They are not exclusive to that. That is for sure.
Sad but true.
It'll all settle down eventually.
Oh, but hold on. My final thoughts. I don't think I'm going to buy into Lorcana. I think the game is very simple. I don't think it's necessarily just like a Magic clone. It actually has some fun nuances to it. It's just that of the other games that I play or are playing, I'm still having more fun with the Final Fantasy trading card game and Weiss Schwartz than I think I would have with Lorcana. So on that one, I think I am going to bow out of Lorcana. But it was fun to learn. What do you think, Mike? You gonna keep going?
Oh, absolutely. I am hooked. I'm building decks. I'm thinking about combos. Like, it's like I am so ready for constructed events to start. Just to,
Oh,
like,
I bet there
go
gonna be
play every
promos.
week. Oh yeah. Well, the promos, they just like took common cards and put like a promo stamp on the bottom of them. It's not even like, oh hey, here's like the OP is very weird for this, and like I get it, it's a Disney product, so it's like made for children in mind. Where it's like, okay, you come this. It almost feels like the old Pokemon League that they would do at like Toys R Us. If you remember that, way, way, way back when the Pokemon card game first started coming out.
Showing your age.
Yeah, but like it's like I've seen advertisements for the OP, and it's like, okay, you come this week, you get a point just for coming, and then oh, you win a match, you get 2 points. You lose a match, you get 1 point. If you do something fun like sing the song, you get a point. You trade with people, you get a point. You do something goofy with your deck, you get a point. Like it's all point based, and then I believe each round of like it's over 3 month spans each season, and I believe each season is like 4 weeks or something. And I go, okay, at the end of this first period, give this promo to whoever has this many points and this and this. So it's like it's very like not what I'm used to when it comes to OP for card games. Like I'm used to here's your entry promo. You do so well, you get X amount of packs, whatever it might be. Oh, you won the event this week. Here's a special promo.
Yeah, though. Has anyone else's experience like? Oh, you got into the tournament. Congratulations. The distributor actually didn't send us this month's promos, but we have extra of last month's promos. Person who won actually gets. We ran out of last month's winner promos. We still have them from 2 months ago. So if you win, I guess you get that one.
I remember back from the Pansy days, the one red promo card. Our game shop gave it out for so long that one guy just like everyone had so many of them. The one kid's like, "Hey, if you don't want them, I'll take them. I'm gonna make a deck out of just the promo card."
But he was gonna put it on the back of the sleeve, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's what it
That's what
was.
it was. Yeah,
He was gonna
clear
use clear
sleeves,
sleeves
and put the back's just that promo card.
because they got so many of that promo and they gave it out for so long. He's like, "I'm almost at like a full set,
How big were the decks? Were they 50 cards?
50 or
60.
60."
I think they were 60.
60. So many promos.
It's
I
like
might have given him one of my promos too because I just
I'm
didn't
sure
want them anymore.
I'm sure I gave him multiple copies of mine because it's like I don't need any more of this card. And it wasn't even like a good card.
No, just the most generic common card you could think of.
Yep.
I was gonna ask if you remembered what red card it was.
I don't, but if you were to talk to your brother and he looked through the promo cards, I'm sure he would find one that had like 20 copies.
I'll have to ask him what it is.
I got a bunch of my foils sitting right here in my hands right now. It was red, right?
Yeah.
I know the listeners do not care. People are like, "What is pansy?" Yeah, everyone listening
So
is like, "What the?"
for those wondering what Pansy is, while Sean looks through his cards, Pansy was Panini's Dragon Ball Z card game. And we call it Pansy because it used the old Score Dragon Ball Z card system back from the early 2000s. And so the Panini version just took that entire system and replicated it. And it was one of the best card games around. It felt like you were in an episode of Dragon Ball Z. Like you were powering up, you were leveling up, like you were powering down, you were blocking attacks. Like it was very cool. And the art obviously was fantastic.
Yeah, it was like taken straight from the show.
Like you
For all the good and bad that comes with that.
That's
like
true, yes.
well we no matches ever took 5 months to finish.
That's true.
That is very true. Yeah, I mean, I've got a bunch of cards here. Let me know if any of these ring a bell here. I don't think I have that promo here though, because I don't have any cards that say P in the upper right hand corner. But they may not have said that. They may have just been foil versions of existing cards, or foil versions of alternate art. But went through real quick. Red Robotic Blast, Red Retreat, Red Hop, Red Back Kick, Red Intimidation Drill, Red
Was
Vault,
it
Red.
was it Red Overpower with Krillin on it?
I mean, it could have been. I don't have that card, but it doesn't mean it wasn't. Crap, how do I find out what set something's from?
But anyways, you played
I don't know, we're wasting
as
a lot of
you
time.
played as a personality and you could have allies and you had to play a certain color deck for your mastery. And if you were a Namekian or Gohan, you could play Namekian. If you were a Saiyan, you could use the Saiyan deck. It was a great time. And then Panini, being Panini, decided to stop the game because Bandai was coming out with their Dragon Ball Super card game.
Panini could have just tried to buy the Super license, but I guess if Bandai wants it, I'm pretty sure they own the rights in the first place in America because they sell a lot of Dragon Ball stuff anyway. So they may have just own the rights, and Panini asked them about it, and they were like, haha, no.
Panini does a bunch of dumb things.
I just Googled it. It is red overpower.
Okay.
It's got Krillin's face. If that's the one you're talking about.
I'm pretty sure it
Probably
is.
is. Pretty sure that's it. Yeah, I did not have it here by some for some weird reason.
From set 2.
Dang, I want to play card games.
Right? I love that card game.
You come play Lorcana. It's replacing Pansy around here.
That's true. Some of the guys who played Pansy are now playing Lorcana.
Yep.
And at the time that was big, I was actually in Harrisburg, so I never got to play on the scene.
Oh man,
I
it was
missed the
pretty
scene.
rough though. The Pittsburgh crew, we had guys who were going to like regional tournaments, and like they were hardcore into it. Like I got my butt kicked quite a few times in the local scene.
I would have too. I'm so not competitive.
There were two guys in the local scene that finished top 8 at Gen Con the last year that the game was playable at Gen Con.
Like that's the insanity we had to deal with it, like at local tournaments in Pittsburgh. I had guys bring it. They're like, I'm testing my Worlds deck, like the deck I would bring to Worlds, or like if I was going to Nats, like this is what I would bring. Yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm playing with like, I don't know the meta at all, so I'm just screwing around.
Before we jump into Vinland Saga, I would just like to say welcome to any first time listeners today. Welcome to the Anime Banter podcast. Thank you for joining us. And if this is your first episode listening, go back, check out our other episodes. So far, we've talked about Chainsaw Man, Trigun Stampede, Star Wars Visions Volume 2, Jujutsu Kaisen 0, Tekko 2023, and we are in the middle of Vinland Saga Season 1. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you continue joining us.
Thanks for spending some time with us. We appreciate it. Hope you enjoy.
Today, we are talking about episodes 13 and 14 of Vinland Saga Season 1. So episode 14 is one of those episodes that have two different titles depending on where you look. On IMDb, it's Child of a Hero, and on Netflix, it's Son of a Legend, and I sort of like the Netflix title more than the IMDb official title.
Yeah, legend just sounds more grandiose compared to hero. Not that hero's bad, but like legend. Yeah.
So the episode begins with a young boy coming out of the water, and we see a young Gratianus looking at the water, and the boy is carrying a woman, and he's like, "My mother dying. She want to return," like speaking very broken language, and like pretty much saying, "My mother want to return to her homeland. Please honor her dying wish." And it's like, okay, well, who is this boy? Like,
Sure does look like it. Maybe a slightly older Thorfinn. Is that Helga on his back? Could it be?
Spoiler alert, it was me.
it was me, Austin. It was me, Austin. It was me all along.
No, I think it was Turtle. Turtle was on the guy's back. The mother who wanted to return to the homeland. That was Turtle.
So we get a new opening credit song with this episode.
Yeah.
And Turtle, would you like to tell us more about it?
Let me do so. The second opening theme song for this show is called Dark Crow, and it is by the band Man with a Mission. It's it's quite a band title. Man with a Mission. It's a very like rock slash metal vibe, and it's mixed with some rap elements toward the end of the track, at least from what we hear in the opening. Personally, it's not my favorite style. I know it kind of was kind of big in like the mid to late '90s, where a lot of rock and metal artists would get with some rappers to do some combo stuff. It's cool. It's a cool piece of history. It's just something that I'm not real big into. And I also noticed at the beginning of the track in the opening, it felt like there were some unique note choices. It almost sounded like they were hitting wrong notes to me. I don't. Maybe it was just me, but it's just like that doesn't seem like it's in your chord structure that you're playing. But it was intentional, I guess. It definitely made me sit up a little bit and was like, "Whoa." Uh, Not my favorite song, especially after the first opening theme song was so good. This one, I just don't think is not up to par.
I have to agree, Turtle. It's not that I hate this song. I think the song's fine for an anime opening, but I thought the initial opening song was actually just very good. If it was mediocre, I'd be like, yeah, maybe we can make it. But no, I just really like the first one.
I feel like whatever opening song came after that first one was going to be a letdown because that first opening song was so damn good that it was going to be hard to hold a candle to it.
It just needed another like full blown metal track, and it would have been like, yeah, awesome. This just like it to me that wasn't it.
Well, maybe second half of the season's gonna have a different vibe.
Well, I would say these episodes definitely have a different vibe to me.
I will say when you said "Man with a Mission," I thought of the old WWF tag team "Men on a Mission."
Who's in that one?
Mabel and I think Mo. What's the other guy's name? The other wrestler, and then they had like a manager who would like wrap them out to the ring. But they wore like these big purple and gold jumpsuits that were like had like a faux leather look to them. It was the early '90s. It was a fashion choice.
I was not watching at that point, or I hadn't started yet.
You have to excuse the '90s. They were a thing.
And then Mabel became King Mabel after he won the King of the Ring, and then he became Viscera from the in the Ministry, and then he became Big Daddy V.
I forgot Big Daddy V. Crap.
but
I
that
was not into wrestling, so this is all over my head.
if any of those names ring a bell to you, Sean, you know who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, no, yep, yeah, no. I was introduced to him as Viscera.
Yeah.
That's when I first met him.
Yep. But originally he was Mabel from Men on a Mission, or Mom if you abbreviated it, which they often did.
Aha, I see.
So post after the credits, we're back in present day, and we see Floki telling King Swain that they took control of Wessex, and King Swain wants to know what happened to Prince Canute. And when he said this, it's like, remember you left him in London. You're like, this is taking too long. I'm gonna leave Prince Canute here, and it'll be fine. And blah 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 blah. It's like, so if you have anything one to blame for this, it's yourself.
Truly, he cares for his child deeply, deeply, deeply concerned. Where did he go again?
Well, I mean, he is concerned, but it's like it's like you're the one who told him to stay.
It's a top quality parenting right there.
I did find it interesting that when King Swain was talking to Floki, he removed his crown, and when they were done talking, he put his crown back on.
He's had to adjust it. It was kind of poking him.
Yeah, I don't know if that was symbolic or not. It may have just been like, oh, let's show him put his crown on because it's cool. I don't know, it'd be a good visual. Like sometimes they just do stuff because it looks cool.
Yeah, like I wasn't sure if it was a I'm not talking to you as the king right now. I'm talking to you as an old friend moment.
Could
And like
be.
if I remove the crown, like the power and the symbolism isn't there. Like it's like was King Swain an old Yams Viking that fought alongside Floki? So like they have that history. Like I just thought it was very interesting to. It's like it felt like there was that scene was in there for a reason. Like that little putting his crown on. It's like it didn't feel like a wasted moment. Or maybe it was, and I'm just reading too far into it.
Either way, probably not that important at this time.
We're back with Askeladd and the ambush, and Askeladd says, "Hey, don't return fire. Like it's all good." And people are like, "Why? We're easily outnumber them. We can win this easily with ease." And Bjorn realizes that the ambushers aren't trying to kill them. Like if they were, they'd be able to take out more than one horse. They're just trying to intimidate Askeladd and get the upper hand in negotiations, in which Askeladd also realizes that same thing. So in realizing that, Askeladd's like, all right, look, we have the prince here. It's like, and because they're like, oh, we don't trust you. Like the Dutch are always at war with someone for no matter how many times they agree to a ceasefire and lay down the arms. They're always fighting. So we don't trust anyone. And Askeladd's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We have the prince here. Let him tell you that he's different. And Prince Canute is too afraid to talk to Acer and his men.
Yeah, there's like you give a big eye roll because you're like, gosh, is this prince ever going to say anything? Like, what the heck? But I do want to give a shout out here to maybe I'm a little too far here, but Ragnar really stands up for Prince Canute. I really think that Ragnar kind of views Prince Canute almost as like his own son because he's talked about like pretty much raising the kid since he was young and looking after him because he was a sickly boy at court and stuff like that. For him, when he calls out Askeladd and is like, "How dare you use him for essentially your own political gain?" Askeladd kind of just has to be like, "Oops, you caught me," and has to back down a little bit. But Canute explains his line of thought later when he finally talks. But we're not quite there yet.
So Askeladd and Gratianus are like, all right, well, I guess we just have to tell Acer the plan then. Because originally they're like, oh, they have a plan, they're in on it, but they're the only two in on it. And like as we see down in the next scene, like even Bjorn doesn't know Askeladd. Like he calls Askeladd a strange man and says he barely knows anything about Askeladd, even though he's been serving him for 10 years. So Askeladd's circle is so small.
I found that kind of interesting because be like Bjorn's been kind of growing on me from episode to episode because they'll give him these quick little scenes like this, and when he dropped that, like, oh, Askeladd doesn't tell me anything either. I'm like, I just envision, this whole group going awry, and like Thorfinn stepping up as the leader and Bjorn being his right hand man, and like them were actually working together. Where Askeladd's just sort of like pulling everybody on by the string and not telling them anything.
Yeah, I could see that too. I always thought there was like kind of a sense of camaraderie with Askeladd and his men, but now I'm wondering it's just Askeladd has just been successful, so they all follow him. But the second Askeladd's not successful or he does something they don't like, do we think is doubt going to carry them? And because like I said, nobody actually seems to be Askeladd's friend in this group. What's going to stop them from rising against them once they feel that there is a hard decision to be made. So it's very very interesting. I kind of like where they're going.
What's also interesting, you mentioned that like none of them are Askeladd's friend. Askeladd doesn't let them be friends with him. He's keeping them all at arm's length and not telling any of them anything. So that's also really interesting. Where, like you said, if something happens where Askeladd is not successful, they could all just, turn on him or just leave him with nothing.
And we even hear that from one of his crew. He's like, I don't care what Askeladd does as long as he keeps making me rich. I'm going to keep following
Yeah.
And what happens when he doesn't get you rich?
him.
Bye bye.
You know,
Death.
when there's a king, right? You'd be like, well, he's still my king, you know. And Askeladd isn't. He doesn't have like a phony divine right. He doesn't command a full army of soldiers. He's just one commander of one group, and we'll see how long that'll take him. Because right now he doesn't have anything to make them mad. But I don't know if he keeps holding secrets from them. You know, we'll see what happens.
I wouldn't not call him a king as we learn about some of his history here in a little bit.
Oh, good point.
I love how Thorfinn called Prince Canute pathetic and can't believe that they are the same age. And like this is just the start of Thorfinn's just like digging and getting under Prince Canute's skin. I'm gonna say he learned that from Askeladd.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things where like I think these two characters are going to be very good friends or become very bitter enemies at some point.
I think they're going to be besties.
It would be nice to see Thorfinn actually interact with someone in a manner that isn't just him getting revenge on Askeladd.
I could see Thorfinn being like a hand to the king or like Prince Canute's top general at some point.
Oh, I hadn't considered what if they get back and they actually return Prince Canute and Prince Canute names Thorfinn to be like his bodyguard, like personal bodyguard or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, good thinking.
I mean, he's the one person who actually get Prince Canute to talk at one point, as we see later down the road. So the big reveal, though, is we learn that Askeladd isn't a true Dane, but he has Roman Celt blood and is in fact Danish and Welsh, and more importantly, a descendant of Artorius, one of the last great Roman Celt leaders in the area. And the narrator returns to explain the history of Artorius, and we learn that this Artorius is a lot of the backstory for King Arthur.
That was pretty wild to me. Yeah, essentially claiming that you're the descendant of King Arthur essentially is a pretty bold claim. Like, my gosh.
And even Acer's like, yeah, sure you are. Like, sort of like with an eye roll, like, not really believing it until it's like, Gratianus is like, no, like, this is the full story. Like, I was there. Like, his mother was Lydia. And, like, Askeladd's like, yeah, my mother was Lydia. She was taken as a concubine by my father Olaf after a raid, and when she was dying, like my father didn't treat her well, and when she was dying she asked to return to this land. And Gratianus is like, yeah, I was there when he came out of the water with his mother. And we learned that the young boy to start the episode was a young Askeladd.
Yeah, and I've got a few notes about this. You know, okay, so it's a young Askeladd. In the past couple episodes, they gave us an image of a slave at a dock, and they show you Leaf, and I'm like, wait, did they get ambushed and then they took Thorfinn captive and then made him a slave, and Leaf's gonna try and free him? And then at the episode, you're like, oh wait, that wasn't Thorfinn. Yeah, I guess we're just checking it on Leaf crying. Great. Okay. So nice fake out, guys, making me think that we skipped over a little bit. And then I get to this one, the beginning of the episode. This kills me. They do this at the beginning of episode 13. You know, a lot of times a season in anime is 12 episodes. So like episode 13, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's time. They're doing a big time skip. Like he's gonna go back. That's Helga on his back, and she wants to go back to like her original village, and he's gonna visit where his dad was from, stuff like that. And no, it was Askeladd. And I'm like, quit faking me out with these guys who look like Thorfinn. He's not a slave. He's not carrying his mom on his back, but they look just enough like him that I feel like they're progressing the story in a very extreme fashion, but they're not. Instead, the story is moving very slowly.
But sort of with good reason, as we learn that Askeladd calls himself an inside man for the Danes, and he pretty much says, I plan on becoming Prince Canute right hand man. I'm like, he's pretty much coming out and saying, I am going to make Prince Canute king. And when he becomes king, I am going to protect Wales with every fiber of my being, and I will never let a Dane step foot in this country. Like, Askeladd is playing the long, long game.
That is a hell of a long game, isn't it?
It feels like Littlefinger from Game of Thrones.
I was thinking I'm getting the Game of Thrones vibes big time, and I mean that as a good thing because when Game of Thrones was at its peak, it was fantastic TV, very fun to watch.
It was must see.
Yes.
Except someone in this group has never watched it and has had the DVDs for years.
Yeah, I guess I forgot I did borrow those, huh? Sorry, Greg. I still have them. I still have them. They're safe. I just haven't watched it.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, I mean, the way it ended and everyone soured on it so quickly, it's like you know what? Don't even watch it because
Uh, I wouldn't say that. Episode season 8 was such a letdown. But I've also heard people that said like who were able to binge season 8 and like did a complete watch from season 1 to season 8. They're like it wasn't that bad.
that's my feeling on it too. Actually, I didn't think it was that bad. I just know how many people had an extreme, almost violent reaction to it.
Yeah. I think a lot of the hatred came from we waited how many years between season 7 and season 8 and they're like it's like this is it. This is the final season like and there were so many loose ends to tie up and it's like wait, that was it?
It was rushed.
Yes, it was.
Oh, but real quick, I also want to address really quickly. You know, this man's playing the long game, but didn't he give a speech a couple episodes back about how all empires die and fall, and talk about how old he was getting? And I'm like, hold up, his political advisor, his like retirement plan, so he doesn't have to like pillage anymore, or is this guy? This guy talked like he was gonna die next week, and all of a sudden he's playing the long game. Are you kidding me? I said this better be his retirement strategy. Like I don't have to pillage anymore if I just go become a right hand man of the king.
I mean, it probably pays well.
Probably. Don't have to put your life on the line.
So we learn that Acer agrees to let them through after learning the plan, but they have to act like Acer's prisoners. So we see everyone giving up their weapons except Ragnar and Thorfinn. Ragnar's like, no, that will never happen. I'm like the prince's protector and yada yada yada. And like he's like Askeladd's like fine, and then he's like, all right, Thorfinn, how about you? And I love how Thorfinn's like calls Askeladd an old man, and he calls Ragnar Conehead.
The Conehead got me.
So it's funny though. I actually paused on a frame with Ragnar. It's legit.
It really is. It really is. So Askeladd's like, all right, fine, you two, you can keep your weapons, but only you two.
And they had to because I guess they're the prince's bodyguards, pretty much. So
So Thorfinn, being Thorfinn, decides to get under Prince Canute's skin some more. And he's like, why don't you ever talk? Why don't you ever do like why are you like the way you are and da 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 and like starts calling Prince Canute princess and like just keeps egging Prince Canute on and on and on to the point that Prince Canute just explodes and starts talking and yelling at Thorfinn. And Thorfinn's like, yo, you don't have to like yell. He's like, I'm not yelling. I'm just making sure my words aren't misconstrued. And Ragnar is shocked that Prince Canute is so open to talking to Thorfinn because he hasn't talked to anyone but him.
I really like this moment. I thought it was genuinely funny, but just the fact to see, Prince Canute actually open up to Thorfinn, a kid his age, which he probably has not been able to spend any time with or hang out with anyone his age. So it just to see that it was funny, it was cool. It was probably my favorite moment in this episode. We can talk a little bit more toward the end, but I didn't care for these two.
yeah, I think honestly that giving Prince Canute an actual personality instead of just like not saying anything for 4 consecutive episodes. Big fan. I really liked the way that Prince Canute talked here, Ragnar's surprise, and it was very fun. So I really hope we get more Thorfinn Canute interactions.
They're going to be besties. I'm calling it.
The episode concludes with Prince Canute signing the papers that Gratianus wanted him to sign in the previous episode, and it begins to snow, and Ragnar and Askeladd once again disagree on how to proceed. Askeladd's like, oh, we'll go around and we'll stay away from all the enemies, and Ragnar's like, no, that's a dumb plan, it's snowing. And needless to say, they follow Askeladd.
Yeah, but Askeladd's proven that he's kind of right.
Yeah, I mean, his track record speaks for itself.
That's what I'm saying.
But more importantly, we have a new closing credit song. Turtle, would you like to discuss it?
The second closing theme song is called Drown, and it's by the band Millet, Milet. It's an acoustic rock song, and it's okay. I like it better than the new opening song that we got. And it just seems really appropriate since our boy Thorfinn is drowning in revenge and cannot let go of his rage he has toward Askeladd.
I like the new song better than the old one.
I wasn't really a big fan of either closing credit song. Like, I
Fair.
find them both very forgettable.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one.
Like, even that first end credit song, it's like, I don't really remember it at all.
It has English. You know what I mean? Like a Japanese singer trying to sing English in it, and I'm like, it just doesn't sound very good.
I always kind of like that though. I think it's kind of funny. Not in like a mean spirited way, but just I enjoy that honestly. Just gives me a little warm chuckle.
And now it is time for Mike's Beer of the Week. This week's Beer of the Week comes to you from High Wire Brewing in Asheville, North Carolina. It is their Chocolate Taco 10W40, an 8% Imperial Stout. This beer is inspired by the classic ice cream treat, the Choco Taco. RIP to a real one.
I can't believe it's gone.
I love the Choco Taco. It was brewed with chocolate, vanilla, lactose, and waffles. It shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, but this felt like I was drinking a Choco Taco on a hot summer night. And I have a soft spot for High Wire Brewing. I visited them whenever I went to the brewery in Asheville when I was there for my bachelor party a couple years ago. And it was a really cool place. I've never had a bad beer from High Wire. I had a friend, his sister used to live in the Charlotte area, so every once like she no longer lives down there, but every year they would go to him and his family would go and visit his sister, and he would always bring beer back from Asheville, including High Wire beer. But it seems like they're starting to distribute a little bit more locally. I've found their stuff in Pittsburgh, like beer distributors, like pretty regularly now. But definitely check out High Wire Brewing. If you're in Asheville, definitely go to the brewery. But if you see any of their stuff on the shelves, pick it up. It's really good. Choco Tacos, what an amazing ice cream treat. So sad that they're gone. The Untapped average rating, 4.02, and I give it a 4. Episode 14, The Light of Dawn. Before we even get into this episode, I'm just going to come out right now and say it. I did not like this episode.
I actually disliked both of these episodes, so
Yeah, I did not care much for it either. If their goal was, hey, just reminding you guys, you shouldn't like any of the characters you've seen so far except maybe Thorfinn and Prince Canute, then they and the priest, because the priest got wailed on. Then I'm okay with that. Just even Bjorn, they'd be like, we need some Bjorn hate here, because he was the first one to bring that axe down, pretty much. On like children and stuff. So but I guess they have to remind us these are Vikings. Like this is what they do. So I don't know. I guess if you like Viking culture, then this isn't a big deal to you, and you guess you kind of liked what happened here. But I think Viking culture is interesting, but I don't necessarily say I'd agree with it.
Of all the episodes of the shows that we've watched so far, this might have been the episode that liked the least of everything we've watched. And what's surprising to me is this episode is really highly rated on IMDb. It has a 9 out of 10 rating. And the only reason I'm hoping, I mean, we'll dive deeper into this episode, but I'm hoping that some of these new characters we meet end up playing a more pivotal role in the story moving forward. So I'm not closing the book on this episode. I'm hoping for more.
It needs to lead to something. There's only one survivor from the village, Anne, and I'm really hoping that she plays some role going forward because nothing in this episode felt like it had any lasting impression. So if Anne doesn't come back, then what do we do? What do we do this for?
It felt fillery. At least watching it on its own, not knowing what's to come, it felt like a filler episode.
I feel like for the last couple of episodes, the plot's just not really moving. We're just sort of like spinning in a circle. We're walking around. Nothing's really getting accomplished. So I'm I'm getting kind of bored with this show, to be honest. And it makes me sad because it started off really strong, and I feel like we've just been slowly going nowhere.
I will say, when we were at Techo, I was talking to a couple people, and they're like, "Oh, just wait to the last couple episodes." Like I think they said 4 or 6 episodes. They're like, "Wait to those episodes, and you're gonna get hooked." So I'm hoping it's sort of like a sandwich where we got some really good bread, and the meat is the middle part of the sandwich is good, but sometimes you don't get a bite with all the toppings on like everything in the sandwich.
I feel like if you're making a sandwich, the meat's the most important part, and I feel like we're missing the meat.
Well, I mean, like sometimes you take a bite of a sandwich and you don't get the cheese, you don't get the lettuce and tomato. Like you're missing part of the sandwich that makes it a sandwich.
And these two episodes for me felt like I'm just getting the bread and there's nothing else. I'm not on board with these two.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's got to go somewhere. I really hope that, like you said, if the season finishes strong, I could definitely see myself getting hyped because we've seen how good the show can be already. Like we've seen like their potential and their story writing, and we've liked what we've seen. So if they return to form that we want to see, and in this slow burn, like getting to know some of these characters, things like that. If we get to know them and we like who they are, and it all comes to a head, and we feel strong emotions towards the plot, I'm back in. But yeah, like you said, right now, of the days of recording we've had, this has probably been the one that I have been a little less into. Like the pair of episodes than other days. So yeah, I hope Anne becomes a regular character.
I watched this episode a couple times just hoping. I'm like, the first time I watched it was late at night. I'm like, well, maybe I was just tired. So I'm like, let me watch it again, fully like normal time of day, like where I'm not like exhausted, just to see if I missed something. It's like, nope, sure did not miss anything. But let's talk about the episode and see if there's things to talk about. The episode begins and we meet Anne. She is seen dancing in the snow and wondering aloud to God if she has to be pure to join God in heaven. And while she's talking, the music to me felt like a Final Fantasy title screen.
I have to go back and actually listen to that. I didn't catch that.
I didn't notice that. Yeah, but I'll have to check that out.
I mean, maybe it's just because I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 16, so like my mind is there. But the music towards the end of that scene before the opening credit song sort of had that melody that it feels very reminiscent of like a Final Fantasy title screen. Like it felt very Final Fantasy 7 like.
Very Nobuo Uematsu. Maybe he made a guest appearance and he wrote that song.
I'd be very intrigued to hear from you too next week if you went back and listened to that clip to see if you had the same feeling.
I am definitely going to go back. I'm going to give it another listen.
The drunk priest is back, baby.
Oh, jeez.
I love how the brothers were explaining their love for each other and the show they put on, and they're like, "Oh, we're always protecting each other in battle, and we love gold and this and that and this and that. And they're like, priest, is that what you're talking about? And the priest's like, well, maybe for you, but it's not quite what I'm looking for, man. And they're like, well, priest, have you ever even been in battle? He's like, nah, man. I'm a priest. I like to get drunk. And they're like, well, how can we even trust you then? And then they're like, all right, well, priest, if that's the case, well, are you in love with alcohol? And he's like, no, but yes, but also no. I don't know, man. This alcohol's great though. And then the brothers get on the topic of Thor's, and they're like, oh yeah, we fought this warrior who was very bizarre. He had a sword but didn't use it, and he kicked all of our asses. But it all ended when we shot him with a bunch of arrows. And when we were counting our dead, no one died. It's like he didn't think he had to kill us, and what a crock of shit that was. And like, it's like he underestimated us, and we don't really like that. And I fucking lost it at the close up on the priest's face, where he's like, "Who was this warrior? Like, what do you mean he didn't kill? What do you mean that he said a warrior didn't need a sword?" And it's like, does the priest know Thor's?
I was wondering that too, actually. Like, has he met him before? Or did he just like the idea of Thor's that was in the story?
I think he was all about the idea of this warrior who is like untouchable and can outclass everybody but doesn't actually hurt anyone. Something about that, I guess, just resonated with him. That's what I think.
It's kind of what I think too.
This whole scene with the priest was fucking gold. Like, just top notch, like, made the episode better than what it was.
Yeah, it's a shame about what they do to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those episodes, by the way, where I wonder if the next episode is going to be like from the other point of view. You know, sometimes they'll do that. They'll do like two episodes that are the exact same thing, but from the viewpoint of two different people. And I wonder if we're going to get like the villager viewpoint, and then we're going to get like the Viking viewpoint of the episode. And it could be a really interesting dynamic if they choose to do that. But I also don't want to watch the same plot twice, so I really hope they don't do that.
I was gonna say that that's a cool mechanic, but not for this particular episode. I don't want to see that.
I sort of feel like we already get that with this episode, though, because we see so much of Anne and her family.
I kind of got that vibe as well.
So Ragnar's all pissed that they got caught in the snow, and they're like, "We were supposed to beat this snow." And Askeladd's like, "I'm a sailor. I know the water. I'm not sure how much it's gonna snow in the wintertime." And Ragnar's like, "Well, all that luck you had ran out." And they're bickering at each other like an old married couple.
It's almost since it didn't what's his name? No, was it Ragnar or was it Bjorn who tried to tell him to not take this way?
I think it was that. I think it was Ragnar.
Yeah, so I'm like, is Escalade up to something? Did he intentionally take like the less favorable way, right? To, hatch some plot.
I was almost wondering if Askeladd did this on purpose to try and like find a way to accidentally kill Ragnar.
I've been wondering about the accidental death of Ragnar, air quotes, accidental death of Ragnar. I also been thinking about that for a while.
I used accidental and air quotes on my end as well.
Because Ragnar and the Prince are just surrounded by Askeladd's men. Askeladd could do anything he wants.
And like in the last episode, they're like, "We need to get him away. We need to let the bird fly." So how do you let the bird fly?
By murdering Ragnar.
Remove the nest or kill the mother.
Poor Ragnar. He's just trying to do right by the prince.
Like I said, it's like his own son. Like I feel like he treats him that way.
We're then back to Anne, and she's eating with her family. And her one sibling is like, "Why do we need to pray before eating?" And the dad's like, "Oh, because if we don't, we'll go to hell." And Anne's like, "This doesn't make any sense. So some people will pray and go to heaven, but some people will go to hell. And if God is so great, why would he split families up?" And it's like, well, yeah, this girl sort of has a point.
As someone who was like raised Catholic, this episode was both simultaneously interesting and boring because I have a great interest in religion and Christianity. like just from a studying and cultural standpoint. So seeing like their view, I wonder, did the author have an accurate view of Christianity in Wales at this time? Is his view accurate? I noticed they said they did like the prayer with the word debtor. I'm sorry, yeah, the word debtors instead of like sinners, which is also interesting as well because like in the Catholic Church you wouldn't do that, but I think in some churches they still use the word debtors. So at the same time, it is interesting that there was a big thing around the year 1000 that there's something in the Bible somewhere that says that like after 1,000 years God is going to end the world pretty much, and then it didn't happen. So people have been trying to predict the end of the world for ages, man. We in was it the end of the Mayan calendar in 2012? We had that. We had all that crap too. So people have been trying to predict the end of the world for ages. So I don't know, like I said, from a being being like raised in a like Christian church, seeing their viewpoints on it and wondering how accurate it is, to that time is something that does actually interest me, and to me, honestly, was kind of the most interesting part of the episode. But I don't know. I listen to history podcasts and stuff sometimes, so it's whatever. But yeah, now the episode, it's a good thing she had to take a pee when she did, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was good that she was able to step away because what is upcoming is it's pretty rough to watch.
Yeah, at the same time, this is like, when Turtle, when you're saying like you weren't really into these two episodes, like we all know what's coming, and it takes them like 10 to 15 minutes to get to the point.
Yeah, and I think that's part of my my dislike for this episode as well. Episode 13 I just thought was kind of boring because not a whole lot happened. And here in episode 14, it like it all leads to this village, and they spend the whole episode setting up Anne and her family so we can care, and so the show can just like rip it away. And it just didn't work for me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, if Anne is going to become like a regular character, it could be really interesting to me to see like seeing maybe she finds a way to tug on Thorfinn or Prince Canute's heartstrings, right? And gets them to make a drastic change. But I don't think she knows the same language as them. They've done a pretty good job keeping the language barriers up,
Yeah.
and so she doesn't even know the same language as them. So I don't know how she's going to do that unless she just kind of follows behind them because she has nowhere else to go, type of thing. I don't really know. So we'll see where that goes. Because it's kind of how we end the episode, right? They're just like showing her, and I just assume she freezes to death if they don't show her again.
I was kind of wondering that myself. Like, are we going to see her again? Does she just kind of die and freeze to death? Because they show her like passing out into the snow, and then like she wakes up the next morning, I guess. I'm pretty sure like falling asleep in the snow in the middle of winter is not a good idea.
I mean, she was dressed warm, but not that warm.
Right. So
So just fall asleep in the snow.
I'm not really sure how that's going to shake down if we're ever going to see her again. So I mean, I just feel like this whole episode was kind of like wasted time. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's going to be an important character moving forward.
Yeah, and as Mike mentioned, on IMDb, this has a very high star rating. But I also know people who are like, I'll suggest something to them like The Boys, right, or Invincible, and they're like, "Oh, is it screwed up?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it actually kind of is screwed up." And they're like, "Oh, I like stuff that's like really screwed up." And I'm like, I feel like that's like all the people who voted this episode with a high star ranking. They're just like, "Oh man, I just love how gritty and dark it is." And I'm just like, "Okay, okay, dude. Yeah, keep it in your pants."
Yeah, I mean, I don't vibe with that. I mean, after everything, we get to meet Anne, we meet her family. She has the whole I stole a ring, so I can't go to heaven thing going on. I'm like, okay, I whatever. I'm uninterested. It's fine. That's going on. And then Askeladd and his group get there. They break into the house. Bjorn's like, "Give us your food or die," and they give him all the food, and then they end up just killing all the villagers anyway. And I don't know. I just felt like this whole episode was just like it went nowhere. It wasn't fun for me to watch. And they could have been much more graphic with the whole killing the village thing, which
Glad they didn't go that route.
I was very grateful they did not. But like we spend the whole show like trying to, or at least these handful of episodes trying to like this Viking group are our like our protagonists, our heroes who we're following along, and then they just murder a village of people who are innocent, and I'm just not vibing with the show right now.
And like I said, they got to remind you that nobody here's a good guy.
Yeah, I was falling into the trap, like, oh, these are the protagonists. I'm like, no, they're a bunch of murderers. Why are we following them again? What's this show about?
Maybe Bjorn's an okay guy. Maybe who's the first one to bring the axe down on the child? Okay.
just that moment of, oh, I'm kind of liking Bjorn now, and then oh, we're killing people again. Okay.
Yeah, women and children all.
Yeah, and I get it. Like this is Vikings. This is what Vikings did, but it's still tough to watch.
So, what did the two of you think of this episode? I feel like we all know our thoughts on episode 14.
Unless Anne becomes a very important character, meh.
Yeah. Episode 13 was slow, but at least it had some cool revelations in it to like help save it.
Yeah, the King Arthur stuff was kind of cool, actually.
I'm gonna be the odd man out here. I don't care for both of these, and basically the previous two episodes I think did the same thing, where there were one or two cool things, and the rest of it was wasted time. In episode 13, we got one or two cool things, like hey, he gets a little bit of Askeladd's history finally, and the rest of it was wasted time. I don't know. I'm losing interest.
All right, well, let's hope the next two episodes have something to pull Turtle back in.
Honestly, what I'm kind of wondering is usually when I watch a show, I like to sit down and binge watch, just like keep going. Would I feel different about this show if I just watched a handful of episodes at a time instead of two? Or would I feel the same? I just don't know.
I am hoping that the ant stuff comes back and like right now we just don't see the full picture with her.
That's the hope, right?
The other thing was that slave girl with from Askeladd's village. We spent some time with her and never to see her again. Is she going to come back?
Oh yeah, I forgot about her.
Another good question.
Like they keep dropping these characters and then moving on.
And then we just never see him again.
Where's the payoff? Why should we care? The show has not really given me a reason to care right now. They keep dropping things and then leaving them be, and it's a whole bunch of walking. Not to be that guy, but I feel like
Lord of the Rings, right?
the Clerks scene, like, oh, it's just a bunch of walking. That's what's been going on for the past like 4 to 6 episodes. It's just a
I was
bunch of
also
walking.
thinking Clerks. And they
Even
talk
the
about
trees walk in that movie.
Well, we haven't had that yet, but yeah, to me, it's a lot of wasted time, and I feel like they could have summed some of this up and sped things up to get more something happening. Because I feel like the plot's going nowhere.
That's fair. I am really hoping that on the grand scheme that this episode makes more sense and we're just having poor views on it now because we're looking at it on a like microscopical level than the whole season.
when you binge a show, you can forgive like two not great episodes. When you put it under a microscope like we do, it's really a lot harder to forgive two rough episodes.
And now it is time for the waifu of the week. Turtle, who is your waifu of the week and why?
After everything I just said, my waifu of the week is Thorkel, who is not in either of these episodes. He's funny. He's awesome. I miss him. Bring him back. That's it.
Fair enough.
He's too boring for me. Where's Thorkel chucking rocks? Come on.
Sean, who's your waifu of the week and why?
I I picked good old Conehead Ragnar because I really like the way that he treats Prince Canute. Like, he's really the only person on Prince Canute's side, and you can tell that Prince Canute had a hard life, being essentially a sickly child, growing up in in a warrior culture, like someone whose body was just not made to be a warrior, right? So by showing like compassion towards this person, they have given them like a mentor. They stepped into a mentor and friend role, and I don't know, like given Prince Canute like some quality of life from a human interaction standpoint, instead of just being considered a pariah because they aren't built for battle.
I'm gonna do a split vote this week because why? Why not? I'm actually gonna pick Askeladd for episode 13 just because his whole history was pretty neat. And like, okay, like why he's doing the things he's doing makes sense when you look at it from that level. But for episode 14, I'm gonna pick the drunk priest again because he was once again the best part of the episode. So I'm gonna do a half and half waifu of the week.
Hey, it's our podcast. We make the rules, right?
Screw the rules, I have money. Thank you all for joining us this week as we watch Vinland Saga. We hope you join us next week for episode 23 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will watch episodes 15 and 16 of Vinland Saga. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. If you are listening on YouTube, please like the video, hit the notification bell, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Turtle, do you have anything you would like to plug?
I say it every week, so I'm not going to go in depth. Check out my own YouTube channel, RPG Treasure Trove. If you're checking this out on YouTube, just hop right over there, subscribe, and enjoy.
Sean, do you have anything you would like to plug?
Check out the Demon Files podcast. We're coming back this fall. Get caught up on all 13 episodes before we start airing season 2.
The Anime Banter podcast can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you all for joining, and we will talk to you next week.